Hey guys, good to see you. Hey, boy, I tell you what, I'm tickled to be here tonight. I really am. And great to see so many in the audience. Hey, great to see y'all. Okay, let me think. I have so many things on my mind right now that um, don't know what to get to first. But no, I do want to thank y'all for coming in and joining us this evening. We have thank you, Melvin. You're so sweet. And we have a great guest this evening. I'm looking forward to getting him on. And but in the meantime, we've got let's go over the news. You know, some different things going on. And let me think. All right, this past weekend, some members of our team went out to central Pennsylvania to a festival that was going on. It was the Bigfoot barbecue and can't remember blues and craft festival. And unfortunately I had been invited to go there, but you guys know I couldn't make it because of my health. I had totally canceled all my appearances for this year, and just I can't do it. Whenever I have to travel too far, I can't do it. But in the meantime, a friend had invited me on a camp out really not far from here. Hey, Mark, good to see you. And it was a close enough distance that I was able to go. So I was happy about that because I really was getting cabin fever. I needed to get out into the fresh air and everything. So let me think. There really wasn't much that went on over the weekend, but there was some possible activity. The second night that the gentleman who had, Gary, yeah, I know, exactly. The gentleman who had planned the trip and another gentleman that was traveling along with him. I think the other gentleman was coming out of the trailer. Let me get this right in my head as to what happened. His guest walked out of the trailer, and as soon as he stepped out of the trailer, he heard a vocal, well, really 3 whoops is what he said that he heard. Now, this other gentleman, he had never experienced a Bigfoot before, never heard them, had no idea what it was. And so the gentleman who planned the camp out went over some audio samples with him, found a recording on YouTube that matched what this other gentleman had heard. And he said, yeah, that's exactly what he heard. It was 3 whoops. So that was that was pretty exciting. And other than some possible tree pushovers, like I said, possible. There were some trees that came down, 3 of them a little bit in the distance. I think they were closer to another camping area. There was one next to our camping area. Whether or not it was a pushover or just trees coming down because of the weather, we don't know. I heard there were a lot of owls also every night, and just owls calling galore. And yeah, they were owls. There were some possible whistles that I heard, but again, I am not certain if those whistles were Bigfoot or if they were an owl call. I don't know for certain. I need to dig a little bit more on that. It's possible that they were from a barn owl or screech owl or something. Got to dig. And so there's a whole bunch of YouTube channels from the Audubon Society that are extremely helpful whenever it comes to bird calls. So that's what I use. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, that's right. iShine also. And yeah, thank you for the reminder. Yeah, Mark was the other gentleman who planned the camp out. He saw iShine. He described it as yellowish green iShine. And it was pretty high up. You know, it wasn't low to the ground, so it wasn't a deer or raccoon or anything else. But other than being extremely exhausted whenever I got home, and yeah, I was just completely wiped out yesterday. I was down for the count and most of today, but I got enough rest so that I'm sharp today. Patty, yes. Yeah, I took Lou's pickup truck. I did not rent a U-Haul this time. It gets a little expensive. So Lou rented the U-Haul because all he needed was a vehicle to get from the U-Haul place to home, and just in case of emergencies, but that way it was just the base $20 a day and 15 miles. So wasn't bad at all for him. So, but yeah, his truck did great. And so I'm quite happy. I had a great time, Mark. I am so grateful that he and his team invited me to come along on their camp out, and hopefully be able to get back out there again next year. Also, while we were out there, now I know there will be some who may not appreciate it, but we met a lady who was connected to a date in January of 2021. And if you look over, this shoulder right here, the two ball caps, I was honored, very, very honored to meet her. She spent some time unjustifiably, and she was pardoned, and I'm just trying to skirt over things right now, especially because we're on YouTube, unfortunately. So, but again, I was extremely honored to meet her. And she she even came up to our campsite because she was interested in learning more about Bigfoot. So she drove up to our campsite, and we had a great conversation. I gave her an autographed copy of my book. And just in case anyone else is interested, it's $20 for an autographed copy. That includes mailing, mailing costs. So just send me a message if you're interested. And let's see, one other announcement. You may exactly mark 100% patriot, 100%. And excuse me. Yeah, you may have noticed at the beginning on the introduction, there is a name change coming for the YouTube channel and for the organization. We will no longer be just Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project. We are in the works of becoming just the Bigfoot Project, not because that name is already taken by another YouTube channel. So we are leaving the word THE, the out. It's just Bigfoot Project. And, coming up with a couple possible logos. I was playing around this afternoon on Canva and a couple other sites, to help me with the artistic and AI end of making a little animated thing along with some possible logos. So I'm excited about that. And connected to that, in the meantime, next week, in case anyone is interested, I have a ton of Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project t-shirts, and they will be going on clearance, $10 each. And I have all sizes. Probably I'm a little bit low on the extra large. They are the most popular size. But next week, I will go into that a little bit more. Hey, y'all. Picture a big footprint? No. No, I won't be using a picture of a big footprint. It'll be something else. I think that's the logo for the other YouTube channel. They use a picture of a Bigfoot print. That's a little bit too mundane for me. But yeah, I will have a ton of t-shirts, logo t-shirts. I also have a few hoodies here. They're just generic Bigfoot hoodies, bunch of different things, but I just want to get all this stuff cleared out and get in the new stuff. There needed to be a change, and after 10 years, now's the time. Patty, I appreciate that. So yeah, we'll talk about that. We can talk about that offline. So, okay, and I think that's everything. But let's talk about what's coming up. We have a guest waiting backstage right now, very, very patiently. And his name is David Walker. Oh, okay, Melvin. Tell you what, Melvin, hit me up on Messenger, okay? David Walker is the author of 2 books, one called The Ohio Monster, and the most recent one is called Supernatural Cryptids, Return of the Nephilim. Walker got the idea for his books primarily from his first scary encounter with Bigfoot that he had in 1972 when he and a friend were camping outside of Newcomerstown, Ohio. While following the tracks the next morning, he and his friend noticed the tracks disappeared halfway across the mountaintop. So where did the creature go? This is the question that has haunted Walker for nearly 50 years until the light bulb came on. His 2 books are the product of his in-depth research. So, I would like to introduce David Walker.
Hello.
Hi, you made it.
Yes, been patiently waiting.
Yes. Yeah, my announcements, etc. They usually take about 15 minutes, and there we go. So tell
Mhm.
us about a little bit about yourself.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I'm, like I say, I've been researching this subject since I was like, I don't know, 15 or 16, because I had my encounter when I was like 11 years old. And so I just got to thinking as I began to go to church back there in the 70s, I wonder if this has anything to do with, the Bible or anything. Well, of course, we don't find the word Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Yeti or anything like that in the Bible.
No.
So I'm like, I don't know. But just seemed to me like it has to be in there somewhere. But what intrigued me was about my first incident or encounter, I should say, and the track disappearing, and I couldn't figure, and it just haunted me for a long time. And finally, I got to cracking with God and with the Lord, and I said, "You got to help me out here. How does this apply?" And I didn't really say anything for a while, and I guess it wasn't my time. And then back in 2018, just like he said, you need to tell your story. And from a non-biblical perspective, just tell your story, and
Mhm.
that's going to really intrigue people. And then you can throw a little bit in at the end, like what are the odds of somebody dressed up in a Bigfoot suit scaring a couple boys?
Yes.
Well, and it might have struck home if that would have been an ordinary circumstances, but it was far from ordinary. And I'll get into that when I tell my story. And so, because I just kept on asking myself where that thing went, um, the Lord just kind of helped direct me to the particular part. He said, "You got to go all the way back to Genesis for this." I'm like, "Oh, man, don't tell me I got through the whole entire Bible." He said, "No, just do as I say. And once you start doing that,
Hmm.
you'll be led to other different parts and other different books besides the Bible."
Yes.
So, I think, and I'm not certain about this, but I think I may be the only one that's actually tied the Bigfoot to the Bible. And if that's the case, that makes my book one of a kind. And not only just that, but I have some stories about this one man. He's a co-author, Richard McCandless, and he spent 5 years alone in the Wayne National Forest in Ohio. And if you ever know anything about the Wayne, you know that there's a lot of different weird creatures, or should we just call them what they are, cryptids, that have been spotted in there, especially around that Lake Logan there in what that not is it Logan, not Logan County, but so there's Perry, Fairfield, Hawking. That's the county I was trying to think of was Hawking.
Okay.
A lot of I think Hawking might be the cryptid, the hot spot in Ohio as far as where you find these things at. I He took a tour out there one time, and I went out with them on tour. I get out of the car, I took 10 steps, and I says, "What is that track there? I have never seen a track like that." So I asked one guy that was one of the guys on the tour. He came over and looked, and he goes, "Oh wow, that's a dog man track." I go, "Oh really?" And I had four big like pads on, not pads but toes like on it, and then a
Mhm.
round thing in the back of it. And he said, "Yeah, that's a dog man track." And then I asked Rich about it. He said, "Yeah." He said, "This is what we call the back 40." And he said, when the campground was first made, a
Yeah.
lot of people that would come back here would see some weird creatures back here, and they felt scared about it. But
Yeah.
anyhow,
Yeah. I know.
I
Richard.
want to really get from there and kind of get into my story. So, is it okay for me to tell my story then?
Sure. Yeah, I just want to let you know that I know Richard. I've met him a couple
Oh,
times.
okay. Yeah, he can be a pistol canny.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
he is a true researcher. He don't want no anybody to add anything on. He just wants the pure facts of the story,
Yeah.
no sensationalism,
Hmm.
just what you see. And I like him for that because a lot of people might want to add a little bit on to make the story sound really good.
Hmm.
But him and me are a lot the same in that respect. I want to hear your story, but I don't want you to tell anything that's not true. You
Hmm.
know. So we kind of hit it off on there, and I met him accidentally at a Bigfoot meeting,
Yep.
and we started talking. And he called me the next day, started telling me some things. I goes, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "You have those kind of pictures to back that stuff up?" Oh, he said, "I got more than pictures. I got videos too."
Hmm.
So, long story short, he invited me to his house. I watched 3 or 4 videos,
Yep.
and I saw some big orbs. I
Hmm.
saw Bigfoot on top the ledge where he filmed Bigfoot, and I've seen a dog man video of a shadow
Yep.
that was all encompassing about his trailer.
Yep. Yep. I've
It's
seen
just
that.
he has the proof of the pudding,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, could I put some of your stories in my book? I'm getting ready to write. He goes, well, yeah, that's no problem. I says, hey, how about you just be in the co-author and I'll write some of your stories and I'll put your name on the book. And he goes, yeah, I'll tell you all my stories and you can write them. He said, I'm not a good writer, so he said, I'll tell my stories to you and you write them. And that's how he became my co-author.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're going to go back to 19. I won't take you all back in time.
Okay.
Back to 1972. Probably most of the listeners, they have no idea what the 70s were like, and because they weren't around. Well, I'm not going to tell you the 70 what all the 70s were like. It was pretty troublesome time because there was a lot of different things going on in the world in that particular time period. But we didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have all this heat imagery and all these things they use now for Bigfoot research. We didn't have none of that stuff. And so, yeah, she's showing you a copy of the front cover of my first book, The Ohio Monster, there.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it ended up being: 2 kids in a army tent. But when you hear their story, it's just going to blow your mind, and it's going to be kind of comical in a few places. So if you want to go ahead and laugh, you can laugh with me, just not at me, okay?
There we go.
That's just a joke, folks. Yes, and that's my second book there, The Supernatural Cryptid Return of the Nephilim, where I try to figure this thing all out and I tie everything back to the Bible. So
Hmm.
that's my newest book. Anyhow, I'm going back to my very first encounter, and it was about June. We just got out of school, and it was I don't know, it was around 70, 75 degrees that on that particular day. It was on a weekend, of course, Friday night. We just decided right then, hey, you want to go camping? I goes, yeah, man. It was the start of summer. And so we get out there, and his mom passed us some stuff. He said, let's just go behind the barn. Man, I've been seeing a real big deer out there. I want you to see it. Its antlers are growing in velvet, and it's really pretty. I said, yeah. He said, if we camp out there behind the barn, we might get to see it. It might come up right to our tent early in the morning. Because he said, I always see it behind that barn. I go, okay, yeah, great, man. So we get behind the barn. I get the wood for the camp out fire. He stepped up a tent. We get everything going. The fires are going good. And we turn our backs to it. We're just talking about kid stuff and about school and what we're going to do in this summertime. Pretty soon, you smell that smoke. We turned around. The fire got away from us. So, okay, we got to take care of the fire here. We whipped our shirts off. It got out beyond the stones because numero uno here didn't put no water around the stones.
Oh.
And so, because it was so dry, well, it took off faster than what we thought it was going to. So we took our shirts and we're slapping the fire. I mean, because if we wouldn't have got that put out, and they had to call the fire department back there and burn some woods up. our butts would have got burned up. I mean, our dad would have took us to the woodshed. We'll put it that way.
Yep.
So anyhow, we got that thing put out in about an hour. We're tired. We're sweaty. All we want to do is basically just lay down and just call it a night. But we didn't want to go back to the house. We still wanted to camp out. And so we talked about that. And he said, hey, we could go up on top of the hill. And man, you can see for miles. He said, we ain't going to see no deer down here tonight. You know that. I go, oh, I know that. He goes, but on top of that hill, yeah, chance we might see some afar off. I go, yeah, I want to camp out anyhow. So we packed up our stuff, hauled it up the hill, got up to the hill. Took about a half-hour break because it was hard walking. We had to go through thorn trees, briars, the kind of territory. It was rough. We got up to the top, and then this big old, pretty well open field. There might have been some patches of brush, but not that bad. Basically, it was just like an old logging road that went clear to the top, stretched about 60 yards wide. Well, we camped right on the first 10 yard side there. And so we got stuff together right around, we start eating and everything. And right around, I'd say 11:30, we got tired. And so let's just turn in, man. We had a pretty rough night. So we turned in and we're talking and we're looking at some magazines and stuff and, girly magazines. And you know how kids are that around, when you're 11, 12 years old. And we're just having a pretty good time there. And pretty soon it got to be around 1:00. I said, okay, well, let's call it quits. We got in our sleeping bags. And I just closed my eyes, just about ready to hit dreamland. And I started hearing some snaps crack around the tent. Oh, okay. Probably just a couple of raccoons, or possums, just scavenging for food. Never thought nothing of it. But I heard 3 or 4 more snaps, and they just sounded loud. I'm like, how could a raccoon or a possum make that kind of a loud snap? I looked at my friend, and he was looking at me. He had some fear in his eyes. And I'm like, I go, do you think there's someone out there? He goes, I don't know, man. No one knows we're out here camping. He goes, except my brother, but he don't even know we're up here. And then all of a sudden we heard this. We heard, oh, oh, oh. I mean, real heavy, like, I don't know, almost guttural breathing. And then, we looked at each other, and at that time, we are beginning to freak out. That didn't sound like some kid up here trying to scare us. It sounded real deep and masculine, like, I don't know, not masculine, just beastly. That's a better adjective, beastly. I'm like, but I didn't know nothing about no Bigfoot or Sasquatch or nothing. And he said, it had to be my brother out here trying to scare us, man. And then boom, a fist hit the tent. And I hit on my friend's side. His name's Steve. I'm not going to say the last name and nothing, but it hit Steve in the head. And he goes, ow, man. He called out his brother's name because, ow, Dave, that hurt. No laughter, just silence. And I put my head down on the ground floor of the tent. I hope that thing whoever's down there don't hit me. I put my head down. Lo and behold, 3 seconds after it hit him, I got hit in the head. Boom, it hit the tent on my side. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm thinking, how did they know where my head was at? Because I ducked and put my hands over my head. I still got smacked on the head. And I'm like, wow. And he looked at me. He's grinning. He goes, I bet you that's my brother out there. He said, hey, Dave, on the count of 3, let's jump out and scare him. I go, and if it is a brother, I'm thinking, just like he is. Oh, yeah. I thought, I'm going to jump out, put my hands up in the air. Oh, my gosh. I fell for that. I unzipped the tent and I jumped out of the tent. He goes 1, 2, 3. On 3, I unzipped it. I jumped out of the tent and I stood up and put my hands up in the air, like that. I go, raw. And all I seen was black fur in front of my eyes.
Oh, geez.
And I slowly looked up at this thing. It's about 7, 8 feet tall. And I had no idea what I was. All I knew in my mind now is I was looking at a monster. That was it. I called it a monster. I didn't call him one, but I knew in my mind, this is what you call a monster. And it had like, I don't know, it had its head would land on his shoulder,
Yeah.
Couldn't detect no neck at all. It
Yeah.
just twisted it some, as if to say, WTF, boy, are you trying to scare me? Really? Seriously? And I'm standing there just about ready to pee my pants. I don't know how else to put it. I hope nobody takes offense to that. But I just about did. And I took a couple steps backward because I knew that this monster could bury me right where I stood.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking a couple steps back, saying, "I'm sorry, there, whoever you are, Mister Monster. I don't mean to crowd your space here. We really wasn't trying to do that. I'm thinking that myself. I take a couple steps back, and then he takes off running. But he didn't take off, like a deer will take off away from you.
Yeah.
This thing just took off running. He ran right past me. If he'd reached out his arm, well, he could have cracked me in the head.
Yeah.
But that wasn't his intention.
Right.
And he took off running across that ridge. And my friend, who didn't jump out with me, he stayed in the tent. Yeah, Dumbo jumped out and tried to scare Bigfoot. Yeah, right. And anyhow, you go, "Oh my God, Dave, that was Bigfoot." I go, "Bigfoot? Is that what that is?" He goes, "Yeah, man, here." He threw me a flashlight. I caught the flashlight. He goes, "Let's get the HELL out of here." He said, "Before he comes back and finishes his job of smacking us in the head." Hey, camping was done for the night. My friend made a very good point. Bigfoot went to the left. We went the other way. We ran down over that hill as fast as our legs could carry us, and even holding the flashlight, man, I about almost got the flashlight knocked out of my hand a couple of times because I'm paralyzed as I'm running. I'm not paralyzed, but I'm freaking out as I'm running, and thorns are scratching my arm, my toes, my hands. And then down by the barn, there was a fence there, had a bunch of black widow spiders on it, unfortunately. And he told me, what's the widow spiders, man? When you cross, you don't want to get one of them things bite you. He said, "You'll be history." I go, yeah. I'll try not to. And so he jumped over the fence and rolled down the hill to the level part of the yard there, the backyard. I didn't know where the fence was at. I'm running full blast with a flashlight in my hand. I hit the fence, the flashlight goes flying. I flip over, and my leg, my foot gets caught in them little squares of them old fences back in them days.
Yeah.
My foot got caught, or it wasn't really a shoe. It was more like a boot. It's kind of like a boot. You know what I'm saying? One that went over your ankles, and my foot got caught there. And I'm thinking, oh, that's just great. Bigfoot behind me trying to get me, and I'm here caught in the fence. Man, I'm pulling and I'm yanking on my leg. I just pulled my foot out just to screw it. I pulled my foot out, sock in the boot, whatever. I ran back to the house with one bare foot, and the other still had my shoe on or whatever. And we get back to the house. His sister, we pound on the door. And after about a minute, I'm like, "Man, it's taking them a long time, man, to the door." But everybody's asleep. Finally, she comes to the door. She opens the door. She's, "What are you guys doing, man? What's the matter? Oh, you guys scared of the dark. Oh, boy, couldn't take it out there, could you?" I said, "Couldn't take it." I said, "We had Bigfoot out there beating us on the head, man." Oh, she laughed. She goes, "Man, you guys are drunk, aren't you? You guys must have gotten some of Dad's old wine at Boone's Farm or something," she called it. I go, "No, no, and no." I said, "Bigfoot was up there, man." And she said, "Okay, get in here, guys." And then at that time, who comes running down the steps but his brother, who we thought was the one, who we thought originally was trying to scare us. He come running down the stairs in pajamas. He goes, "What are you guys doing, man? You guys making a lot of noise. You're going to scare Dad." "Oh, you scare Dad. You're going to wake Dad up, and he's going to be mad at you." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. We had we had an encounter up there." He goes, "Whatever." He goes, "You guys better get back up and get in bed, man, before Dad come down here and beat the belt out after you." Okay, well, we don't want to do that, so we went upstairs and we're talking to ourselves, and we finally fall asleep. And then in the morning, his mom always got up right around 7 o'clock and would make breakfast on the weekend. Big old thing of cocoa there and everything, hot cocoa, eggs, toast, whatever. Well, she always had that every morning. And so we was eating that. And so his dad come down the table and he pulled up a chair to go, heard you boys had an encounter with that old Bigfoot last night. I go, yeah, something like that. Why? He go, oh, we said, don't worry about that, David. Said, we seen that thing about 6 months ago out there at the barn. I said, you what? I looked at my friend. I goes, to Steve. I said, Steve, you knew this thing was out here and you still had us camp out? He goes, Dave, I thought that thing was long gone. It was 6 months ago, man. We haven't seen it since then. I said, well, we seen it tonight. He goes, yeah, we did. He goes, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know it was still around. So his dad said, yeah. And he said, the funny part about that thing, it had 3 toes on the end of that foot. I've never seen anything with 3 toes on it. He said, did you boys look at any tracks? I goes, no, we got the heck out of there fast. He laughed. He goes, yeah, well, let's go up after breakfast here and we'll check out the tracks and see if it's the same one or not. So we got that way you guys can get your stuff. So we went up there. Soon we got to the tent. Right there was one. He goes, right there's one, man. We looked at it, 15 inches long. And then on top of that, there were 3 toes at the end of it. It must have had kind of long toes or something because it was like 2 or 3 inches past the ball of the foot.
Wow.
And so I never heard tell of one like that. I didn't hear tell of any, to be honest with you. But he said, yep, 3 toes, just like the one back to the barn. He's probably the same creature. Well, yeah, that's a pretty easy deduction. How many 3-toed Bigfoots you going to have running around out there?
Yeah.
So anyhow, he said, well, let's follow this. So I started following. He goes, you know right where it ran, Dave. Go ahead and follow it, and we'll be right behind you. So I led the pack, and I'm following these, and I get to about the 12th one, and it stopped. And there's still plenty of, but we're only almost maybe halfway across the field at that time. But there's still brush, there's still bare ground. The road's still up ahead of us there. I thought, I can't find no more tracks. He goes, you're not a very good tracker, are you, Dave? Let me check that. There have to be plenty more up here. He went up above me. He's looking around. He goes, I've never seen nothing where I can't find no tracks either. So he came back to the last one. He bent down, and this is the question that haunted me for 50 years. He goes, well, he said, boys, I've been hunting here since I was knee high at the grass top, but I ain't seen nothing like this. He said, but one thing I do know, tracks do not lie. You boys seen something up here. And then he said, all the tracks that you ever find, he said, they all tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
I goes, okay, what story is this telling you? He looked at me, he just shook his head with a blank look, as if to say, I ain't got a clue, boy. I don't know what this is telling. And I'm like, I don't know either. And it just crazy. The whole thing was, he goes, well, boys, get your stuff, get your tent and everything and your sleeping bag, whatever. He goes, let's get out of here. So this place is giving me the creeps. And it was me too. It was just like whatever was up there was watching us from the woods, from the wood line. He had his eyes because I just telling a story right now. I got like goose pimples all over my back. I just like, I'm there. I'm in 1972 right now. As I'm telling you guys this. I talk about being in a time warp.
Yep.
But the funny part about it is everything that I just told you, Mary, happened exactly verbatim. Now, maybe there were a few instances that maybe I left out of detail, whatever. I've told this story over 200 times in the past year. So, I wish I had a record player where I could or tape player where I could just hit the button and it could tell the story. But
Yeah.
but the thing of it is, it doesn't deviate. It's the same story, just not told word for word, of course.
Yes. It's been a long time ago since it happened. But even so, there's things you remember.
It's just like do you have any questions. I mean, I told it, and I didn't tell you exactly what the creature looked, but I did. I had somebody film the entire. They didn't film that one, the actual thing, but
Yeah.
when they recreated it in 2018, I told my story. He filmed. He had two boys play me, and I was on the Travel Channel.
Oh,
I
really?
didn't. I didn't put that in the documentary. I was on the Travel Channel, and I'm the one that, telling the story per se. And then they're showing different clips of the thing, and they had two boys act it out.
Mm-hmm.
And amazingly, they did a real good job. The only thing they forgot, the main thing they forgot, was the boy. He on the show, he jumped out of the tent with me, but on the real life, he stayed in the tent and called to me from the door of the tent. So that was one main detail that they didn't get right. But everything else, I mean, they hit it pretty good. Even had a boy that kind of looked like me when I was his age, and he had hair too.
Now, was that uh, Monsters and Mysteries in America, or what show was that?
No, honey, I was just getting ready to tell you. That's the Travel Channel, and it was underneath. If you've ever watched These Woods Are Haunted
Yeah.
or Terror in the Woods. They
Okay.
had they had two of those different things, and I was on both of. They put the program on both of them, so who's ever watching it at whatever time can get to see it. I've actually seen the show. I never taped it. I don't even have a tape of it. Some few other people have a tape. I don't even have a tape of it. I just watch it whenever I know how to get it. Put it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And but the funny part about it was one time I was sitting in the house talking to some friends, and we were watching TV. It was like around 10:30, and I said, "What do you want? What do you want to watch now?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Well, let me check over here." So I flipped the channel. I flipped over one channel, and here my show was coming on. I go, "Oh!" And they go, "Hey, that's you! You're on TV." I goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And so he said, "Well, yeah, let's watch you." I said, "Well, you believe in Bigfoot?" And they go, "I don't know about that." I
Uh,
said, "Watch the show." They watched it, man. Their eyes were just like, "Why? I never knew that, man. I didn't know you had an experience like that." I goes, "Yes, I did. I've had more than one experience." I said, "But this is the scariest one, and happened to be my first one." So I'm like, it pretty well freaked me out. I can tell. And
yeah.
so it was really, just it was crazy that I switched onto my own channel where my show was at, and they thought I had a plan like that, but I didn't have it planned.
That's pretty cool. Now, where do you live at now?
I live. I'm not very far from Newcomer Town. I'm probably only like 20 minutes from it
Oh,
right now. I live in a place called Yerksville, Ohio.
okay. Yeah, another friend of mine lives there also. Uh,
So yeah, and so that was my first experience, and I had another sighting when I was like 25 years old, but this wasn't very dramatic at all. But I still had the sighting,
yeah.
and on that one, I was coming home from work when I worked up in Massillon. I was coming back home. I lived in a place called Mudsock. There you go. That's a pretty good name, isn't it? Mudsock,
Yes.
like a good old hillbilly country name. Uh, yeah, it probably has a population of, like Hee Haw, of 25. And if you blink, you'll miss it. You know what? You know the kind of little hick towns out in them ways. It's
Yep.
actually out on 258 out of Newcomer Town. If anybody is ever down that way and they want to go out to the place, it's about 4 miles out of Newcomer's Town. Back in the day, way back in the day, way before my day, the road had a lot of springs in the area, and of course, horse and buggy would be going through there, and they would always get stuck there. So the place ended up getting the name Mudsock.
Okay. All right.
Very interesting tidbit of information. That won't cost you anything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but on my way to back home, I was looking for some deer, and I just happened to have a pair of binoculars in my glove compartment because if I seen some deer, I would often pull off the road to put my binocular on, see how big they were, and stuff like that. And I went around the bend. I looked down toward the river where I saw some before, and I didn't see no deer, but I saw something black and tall. I'm like, that's not natural. And back of my mind says Bigfoot. I'm like, oh, that can't be Bigfoot, you know. But I'm going to pull off and check it out. I pulled off and I looked at it. I saw this thing take a couple steps, and man, my eyes about got big as eggs. I'm like, oh my gosh. I grabbed them binoculars out of the glove box, put it on it, and just as I did it, almost as if it knew I was looking at it, that thing turned around and looked right at me.
Oh.
And I got a real good look at its face. And and to be honest, it's kind of hard to describe because it's like a cross. You know, I believe these things are some type of hybrids. It was a cross between a big, tall, hairy man and and a primate. If you can even capture that in your mind,
Yeah.
and it had a kind of like a more of a man type base, but yet it was definitely primal. It wasn't a man. It was primal.
Mm-hmm.
Toward the ape side, we'll put it that way. Black and hairy, had some gray type flat skin, almost blackish, more dark gray than anything. But again, its eyes, pure black,
Mm-hmm.
and almost creepy. But I'm about 200 yards away from it. Well, 150 yards away from it, I'd say. And so I'm not scared or nothing because I'm in my car, so I can always just speed on down the road. So I'm not really afraid, but just more curious than anything. So I sat there and I watched it for about 2 minutes, and that's about all it took. After 2 minutes of watching that thing and him looking up there at me, and he kind of turned around, wandered, and reached up and he grabbed something off of a limb, put it back down, and then he took a couple steps and he walked right back into the river bottom, and that's all there was to that one. You know, it wasn't no, or anything like that. It was just real simple, just a simple sighting, and then it was gone. But it was more. I want to say skinny, but it wasn't skinny. But it wasn't as broad as the one I saw. It was more thinner.
Okay.
And so, yeah, he disappeared, and then I took off back home. But later that year, when I was hunting, I was really totally freaked out. I was back in there hunting, and I was up in a tree stand hunting for deer. It was just about dark, and I heard some sticks break and stuff coming toward my direction. Well, I stood up, got my bow ready, and I just a brand new bow I bought, and so I'm ready for this. What I'm thinking was a big buck because it's pretty good sticks breaking. I'm like, that's a big one. That's a big one. So I'm ready. I got a little hole already pre-cut out that I'm going to be shooting through, and he's headed right for that hole. I'm like, yeah. Come to daddy. Come to daddy. I'm going to get this one. And so I'm prepared. I'm standing there waiting. It's getting darker and darker, and this thing doesn't come. And finally, it gets so dark. I'm like, well, I ain't going to be able to see the tree steps to get out of my tree. I better call quits here about right now. And so I turned around, went to put my rope, attach my rope to my bow. And as I did, all of a sudden, I heard this scream. It sounded like a wild woman. It was right behind me. And it went, wow! I mean, just real loud. I cannot do it justice on here, but
Yeah.
just picture that. I mean, just about 100 times what you heard, right? About 100 times that,
Yes.
and it just scared I had the hair was stood up the back of my neck, and I'm like, I didn't know what it was. Wasn't claiming it was a Bigfoot or nothing, or I mean, maybe it was a wild cat. I don't know because I didn't see it. But I tell you what, I didn't want to hang around there much longer. I went to put my foot down to climb down all the tree. I couldn't find the tree steps. As much as I tried, 5 minutes trying to find that first tree, I could not. I knew where it was at, and I could not put my boot on it.
Wow.
And I'm like, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. So I'm like, well, I dropped my bow. I didn't even worry about the string. I dropped it. I couldn't see where to hook it at or nothing. I just dropped my bow,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a hold of the tree and I hugged it, and I'm skinning down the tree, And as I did, my left arm scraped one of them tree steps. I'm like, ow! Just it dug into me. Actually, I think it caused me to bleed there too. But then I found out where it was at, and so I put my right foot down. When I did, it landed on the other tree step. So then from that point, I climbed down. I
Yeah.
figured out where the tree steps were at, juggernaut, left and right and left and right. And I got down out of there because if I would have skinny down with my hands around the tree, I would have really hurt myself, maybe even fell out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So
my.
I got down to the bottom of the tree. I didn't look around. No. As soon as my feet hit that ground, boom, I just bolted because again, I knew I was being watched. But I didn't know exactly where it was at. I knew it was around, it probably was within 10, 15 yards of me. But I bolted. I didn't look to see, hey, is that a Bigfoot? Let me see if I can see. No, I got the heck out of there.
Yep.
And I went through the briars, and again, I was all caught up. And again, I met a fence that I didn't know was there. And I flopped over it, and again, my foot got caught in the fence. I I pulled my foot out just like the other time, and I'm running back with one boot on and one bare foot practically, and I really hurt my foot that time because I tramped on some things that were really sharp.
Oof.
But anyhow, I ran through the yard and I got back into my trailer with my mom and dad. I just bought a trailer out there in Mudsock, and so anyhow, she says, "Did you hear that noise out there, David?" I goes, "Yeah, I did, Mom." I said, "That's why I got the heck out of there." She goes, "Well, I don't know what. I've never heard nothing like that." But she said, "I don't know if that was that a Bigfoot?" I go, "Mom, I don't know what it was." She goes, "Well, I want to tell you what. You see, it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck." And she's sitting in the trailer, and
Oh,
that happened to her. And then she never believed me on my first time, Mary. She never believed me. She thought I was just trying to get some attention to myself. How how kids are.
yeah.
And instead of my dad, he about took me to the woodshed. He was PO'd at me. My dad was. He didn't want me to go around telling stories and stuff. He goes, "Oh, I've been hunting those woods since I was a kid. I've never seen nothing like no Bigfoot. That's a big, tall story, boy. And if you want attention, this old man will give you some attention." I go, "Dad, yeah. I'm just telling you what I saw. That's all I'm doing." No, he grabbed me by the shirt and neck. He goes, "I'm going to tell you what. If I hear you tell this to anybody, I'm going to make certain that you're going to regret it." And that's why, for the longest time, I never told my Bigfoot stories. I didn't tell them at school or nothing. I told it one time, and the person I told it to busted out laughing. "Oh, Walker seen a Bigfoot," and everybody started laughing. And that was the last time I ever told it for probably 15 years after that.
Oh, my. Wow.
And I
Yeah.
think, Mary, and you correct me if you think I'm wrong, you can correct me, but I think there's a ton of sightings people have had, but I think there's even more sightings that people have had, but they're afraid to tell because they're afraid of ridicule.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that only maybe a tenth uh, of all the different sightings are actually shared, and 90% are, people are too afraid to come out and talk about them.
Right. And same with the UFOs. And that leads me, I'll tell my UFO story real quick. That happened this was in 1982. So I'm like around 22 years old at that time. I took my friend home from church, and we're sitting there. It was by a railroad track, and they're in Newcomer's Town. It was Newcomer's Town too.
Hmm.
And we're sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, I saw a big bright light coming down the railroad track. So it's a train. I know it's a train. That's where the trains come from. So I said to my friend, I said, "Hey, I'll be going home after this train goes by, Cork." I says, "Cause I'm really tired, you know." He goes, "Yeah, I'm kind of tired myself." So we said a few more things, and as we're talking, this light's getting closer and it's getting brighter. But then I noticed the light's up above the tracks. I said, "Do you see that? What is that?" And I looked at him, and his face was white as a sheet. And he knew that that was no train. And I
Oh,
looked back at it, and by that time, it comes right to where my car is sitting at his house, and it stops, Mary, right in midair, and there's no noise from it, but there's little red lights around the, how like picture a flying saucer, and the little red lights are around the center and just blink, that blinking and like that. And I thought I saw some windows above the light, but I don't know. I mean, there was no way you could see any. I don't know if it was windows above the lights or not, but I remember seeing the red lights just blinking around there for about maybe 10 seconds. And I'm sitting there, and as I'm thinking of that show we saw right around that time. You probably seen it too. Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking of that. I'm like, oh no, I am not going to get abducted. I'm I grabbed a hold of that steering wheel as hard as I could squeeze it. And I thought, if you're going to abduct me, you're going to take the whole vehicle with you. And I'm squeezing on real hard, and my knuckles like turning white because I mean I'm in the moment. I think this thing's going to try to abduct us, and I'm thinking, and this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, buddy, you better just move right on along because I know that that you have to be evil. I know you're evil, and I do not want you to take me aboard no stupid spaceship. And as I'm thinking these raw thoughts of mine, it's just like those beings up in that UFO understood me, and they just went from sitting still for about they stood still for there for about I'd say about a minute, and then all of a sudden, maximum warp Scotty on Star Trek where that thing takes off and all you see is the red streak.
Yeah,
That's exactly what this exactly. It just went from there and it done a maximum. It just took a shot and all we seen was a red streak. And so, I got back to my house. I let my friend out there, got back to my, we didn't even talk about it. He just got out of the car. His legs were shaking. We got back to the house and my mom said, oh, I heard you had a UFO. So I go, no, wait a minute. Now, how did you hear before I even had a chance to tell you? And she said, well, Corky's mom called me and Corky told her about it. And so she called the police department. The police said, well, man, there must be some truth to it because you're about the 18th caller we've had come in here about seeing a UFO tonight in Newcomers Town. So it was confirmed that what we saw was the genuine thing. I mean, what else would be in the sky, be able to travel that kind of speed and be able to hover right there with I don't know how. I mean, a helicopter can do that, but they got wings to keep them up.
right.
This thing just was stationary and just sat there, and with them lights going blinking all the way around it, and it did. It looked like a scene right out of that movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Wow. Yeah,
So that was my two encounters, way back in the day, and then like I said, from that it branched off into me trying to figure out what's going on here because I'm not doubting Bigfoot, I'm not doubting UFO. I know they exist.
Yeah.
My question was, what are they? And that's where I began to get into writing my books and stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
Is there any question that you see coming up on your screen or anything? I'm sure there's a couple of them.
Yes. Yeah, I've popped a couple of them up. The first one is from Patty. She asked, do you fear Bigfoot or going out into the woods again?
So she probably asked me if I've ever seen it since then, you mean, or
no? Are you afraid of them or
no.
afraid of going out in the woods?
Yes and no. I'm not going to go out there like purposely looking for it, but I do like to go out with some people in a group. I'm not going to go out by myself looking for Bigfoot or Dog Man because Bigfoot's not that bad. He really isn't. But this Dog Man or werewolf creature that people are seeing a lot in Ohio, now he's a game changer.
Yeah.
And depending on his mood, he can take you out at any time.
Yeah.
But he likes to play with you. He likes to play a game. And if he thinks you've spotted him and you try, oh my gosh, you try to get away,
Mm-hmm.
he thinks you're playing with him and he'll take out after you. So my best advice is if anybody's in the woods and they see a dog man with like pointed ears and they know it's or something looks like a werewolf,
Mm-hmm.
if you do move, make sure you move real slow and purposely. Do not run. Do not take off run because he will catch. He can run 10 to 15 times faster than you ever could think of. So
Absolutely.
just move real slow and actually act like you never seen him. Just if you look at him, you see him, just turn your head nonchalantly, look down at the ground, and maybe bend down and pick up a leaf or whatever. And if he thinks you haven't seen him,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, my friend Rich told me, he'll just bend back into the forest and you won't see him no more. But
Yeah.
if he thinks you've seen him, you're trying to get away,
Mm-hmm.
game on.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. And Melvin commented his entire MP company witnessed 5 UFOs in Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah, that's phew, 5 of them.
Yeah, UFOs have been documented so much that even the government's coming out and saying, yes, there is UFOs. We just don't know exactly why they're here for, but there's no need for the public to get to panic. Well, if you see something in the sky that has better power, more technology
Mm-hmm.
than you. And if you're thinking, are these things coming from other planets to visit our solar system? And they come to us and they see how primitive we are. Yeah, we would have cause for alarm if that were the actual case.
Yeah.
I have a different take on that, and you probably hear that at the end of the podcast. But anyhow, if you understand, if I was the government and these were beings from outer space coming from millions of light years away, oh yeah, I'd be freaking out about it now.
Oh my, yeah. Now, can you tell us about your second book and uh, how that ties into your experience?
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I went back and I went to the Bible. I went to Genesis chapter 6, and Genesis chapter 6 talks about these sons of God, coming down.
Mm-hmm.
An actual, these are maybe the actual beings of Greek mythology that they have said, yeah, they have wrote about, and actually there's statues over there in Greece, Rome, and some parts of Italy,
Mm-hmm.
other parts there. They have actual statues of these figures that they have in mythology, and even the Sphinx, it's laying over there by the pyramid. That's a type of what they call. I think it's called a. I'm not good at pronouncing some of these names. A chimera. If you ever heard that name, a chimera,
Yeah.
it's almost a triology of a lion. I don't know, part man, part lion, and part something else. I'm not really up on all that stuff, but back in them days, why if these beings aren't real in mythology, I'm not saying that the stories are, because I believe the stories were added on to. It's just like a fisherman when he catches a fish. Pretty soon at the end of the story, the picture itself weighs 5 pounds.
Yeah.
I believe that there was some more sensational stuff added onto the stories over the years
Yeah.
in mythology. But I believe, Mary, that there was a kernel of truth in almost all of them stories as
Yeah.
they began, and then it was added on to, and then you had one eating the other one, and it does sound very outlandish. So I'm not saying you can take all them stories 100% true, but I do believe that there were some clashes of what they call the Titans. And I believe these Titans were these fallen angel type beings that the Bible refers to as the sons of God. And there are different takes on these sons of God. Some believe they were just men because it says sons.
Right.
But I would say 80 to 85% of the religious community. And that's not just Christian. That's Jewish rabbis, and then other even in Islam. Some of them they believe that these sons of God, as the Bible calls them, were actually angels. And if you go to a one favorite apocryphal book called the Book of Enoch,
Yes.
he talks a lot about these fallen angels and what was going on during that time, both before the flood and even after the flood. So Enoch really hit the nail on the head with it and covered and even named some of these angels by name.
Yeah.
So it's a really great book for anybody that's listening. If you want to really get into that and read about Enoch, and Enoch was the seventh from Adam. Probably, I'm guessing, and you can tell me what you think, Mary. I'm guessing out of all the people that's ever lived, besides our Lord, of course, Enoch was probably one of the most holiest ones that actually lived, because he walked hand in hand with God, and actually he walked so close with God that when he was, I believe, it was 365 years old, this man walked right on into heaven with God. You took him right on into heaven with him. And
Yeah.
that's why he's called the friend of God, Enoch, the seventh from Adam. He was definitely a very pure individual, and even the offspring of the fallen angels, the Nephilim, the giants that were on the earth in them days. Genesis says, and also after that.
Mhm.
So that's the part that really stumps a lot of theologians, is if God sent the flood to get rid of these giants and all the wickedness and everything that they created and stuff, how'd they get back on the earth a second time?
Yeah, that's the question that always comes up, regarding the Nephilim, you tying it in with Bigfoot. People say that, okay, did they somehow survive by being on the ark, or were they hiding in caves, or what?
Well,
What
and again, it does sound like they may have survived, but here's the thing. If they did, then the Bible itself didn't really is almost a lie, because the Bible says that everything with the breath of life
Yes,
died.
yes, I agree.
If
Yeah,
that's the case,
yes,
then there something else had to have occurred,
right.
whether or not there was some type of gigantism seed that went through one of them women or something, or that actually lasted through the ark, and then down through 100 years or whatever, it actually developed into an actual giant. That's one theory. I don't really hold on to that theory. Um,
Yeah,
I would lean more toward the fact that there may have been some kind. I don't know how it happened, but there may have been some kind of a second incursion of angels that did this, because the Genesis 6:4, when you read it, it states one fact, that these sons of God were the ones that created the giants before the flood, and it says that also after that, when the sons of God. See, it doesn't say anything else. It just says when the sons of God came in. So if I'm reading that correctly, and I'm going to like put my money on a bet, I would say I'd put my money on there was some type of different incursion of angels that came down there and reintroduced their supernatural seed with humankind.
well, that's a interesting hypothesis, and you never know. There's just so many
Yeah,
different.
yeah. There's so many. There's when you go back that far,
Yeah,
all you are doing basically is just guesstimating, or not might be a really good word to say. Hypothesizing, or I'm trying to get at.
yes. Well, and another thing is, there's not only the Nephilim, although it was the Nephilim that found the human women attractive, et cetera, in Genesis 6:4. But there were other angelic beings that did not, of course, mate with human women. But then there's about 100 or so different angelic beings. There's of course, the Nephilim, and there's the seraphim and the cherubim, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've
Yes.
got a book here of all the different ones that I've still got to
Yes.
go through. And who knows, are the Bigfoot possibly one of them, or
Yeah.
something totally different?
And listen to what it says, honey. If you look at these two other stories that I have in my book, and I take everybody step by step through the book. There's nothing in there. I write the book as I talk.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say that's not a good way to write, and it's not. But if I'm trying to explain it to you, I'm not going to explain it in a literary type fashion. I'm just
Right.
going to tell you just how I'm talking right now. And I think that a lot of people understand that better than they would a literary fashion that sounds real professional and, professional, whatever. I
Mhm.
think that I've had people read my book. Matter of fact, this one guy at my church, he bought the book the other day, and he says, he said, "Hey man, I read your book." I goes, "You just bought it about a week ago." He goes, "Dude, I could not put it down." He said,
Yeah.
"Matter of fact, when I go home today, I'm starting to reread it." I goes, "Really?" Because that really shocked me. No one told me that before.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Man, I can't get enough of that." He goes, "You hit the nail on the head." He said, "I always wondered why there were giants." He says, "Here, how you explained it in your book was that in order to during that when you go back to the first fall of Adam and Eve and how God he cursed man and they cursed Eve. She had to bear children. Man had to toil the ground. And he said when he got to the serpent, he said, "Because you have done this," he said, "I'm going to make you lower than a bug. You're going to have to crawl on the ground and eat the dust of the earth." And he said, "And I'm also going to put here's where the war started. I'm going to put enmity, hatred, um, hatred, struggle. There's some strife between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed."
Mm-hmm.
Now we know who the seed of the woman was going to be. That's going to end up being Jesus Christ. He's the one that's going to crush the head of the serpent. I believe on the cross of Calvary when
Yes.
he shed his blood and became a sacrifice for all humanity. That is, of course, who we believe is the seed of the woman. Yeah, we got that. But the seed of the serpent, he didn't have no kids,
Right.
or did he?
Uh,
So his angels, the ones that fell with him in a maybe a past age or a past time period
yeah.
before the creation of Adam. It says that there was a war in heaven. We don't know. The Bible doesn't tell you about that war, but it tells you that there was some type of a conflict, and
Mhm.
you can study the Bible out, and you can pretty well prove that. But we're not gonna go into that here. But this is what I find in the book of Enoch, Mary. It makes a statement. I'm going to go right to it right now. It says, well, Fritz Zimmerman in his book, he reached into that and he brought this out. And I'm going to read to you just what Fritz said. He said, in the book of Enoch, during that first calamity, fairies were fallen angels who were loyal to Lucifer, Satan, the devil, during this long time ago ages. And this is in the book of Enoch.
Mhm.
It's not in the Bible. Apparently, after some great heavenly conflict, he says, they were cast out of heaven and sent to hell by God. However, God, in his mercy, spared the fairies from going to hell in mid descent and condemned them to live on the earth instead. The fairies that fell to earth will become like dwarfs, ghosts, and evil spirits. Those who fell into the forest will become wood spirits or wild men, possibly Bigfoot. And those who fell into lakes and rivers would become water spirits. And then I put after that, although this information is derived from ancient sources, if true, it would explain a lot of cryptid sightings and paranormal phenomena that people have witnessed before.
Yeah. Yes, it would.
Isn't that interesting? Now,
Yeah.
if I'm going to say what I think Bigfoot might be, and again, I'm not making a statement, but my own personal opinion,
Yeah.
I would bank on that because this is in the book of Enoch, and he got his book made it through the flood, and some of these other apocryphal books made it through the flood. And the way they made it was because Noah took that information and he brought that with him so that it wouldn't be destroyed because everything else was destroyed, except with the exception of some large ancient structures like the Pyramid of Giza, um, and some other pyramids that people have found on the earth, and other great structures that you just don't have any knowledge of how they could pack 100 ton stones on top of mountains. How in the world did they get there if they weren't carried there by giants or
Mm-hmm.
these fallen angel type dudes, the sons of God or whatever? I believe they had the technological know-how, and they had the giants, which were their kids. They had them do most of the manual labor. That's what I think. But anyhow, that's on it. And again, that stuff's in my book too. And it's so interesting because some of these things were laser cut with what they said there's no way anybody could have made them things with chisels and hammers, which that's all they knew out of the Bronze Age. That's all they had to work with.
Yeah.
So humanity took a giant leap from the Bronze Age, into the I don't know what other age, the modern age after that. It took a tremendous leap back there from like cavemen type dudes to all of a sudden knowledge of the stars, knowledge of how to make weapons of war, makeup, where to get chemicals from the earth, and all this kind of stuff. Humanity took a big leap, and that's what the Book of Enoch says. That in exchange for the woman that they were having, I guess, sexual relations with, or something like that, to produce these giants. In exchange for that, they received this wisdom that came from that they knew beforehand. It was an exchange, and even today, there's still there's still some stuff going on. And Jesus said that when I come back, he says it's going to be just like it was in the days of Noah. So, what's going on today?
Yeah.
Have you heard of these abductions? Now, some people have been they went back and they have multiple abductions, and they take these women and they harvest these fetuses, and who knows? I mean, there have been hundreds of thousands of these abductions that were reported.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some cases that were actually verified by some of the researchers, like Whiteley Stryver. He was one that wrote that book Communion.
Yeah.
And then there was three or four other ones that I have in my book, researchers that said they literally talked with the woman, and when they told their stories, they even confirmed it by going back on hypnotic. They hypnotized them, and they even told even more details through the hypnotism. So there's been, if even half of them stories are true, where are these individuals at? Where are these abduction babies and children at? They claim that that they are in society now, but they look so much like human
Yeah.
that it's hard to tell them, apart from one another. So we can really get into a rabbit hole, and we can get really deep with this thing. My research bears a lot of that stuff out, and there's some conspiracy theories in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as far as Bigfoot, there's a woman in 2012 by the name of, maybe you've heard of her before, Melba Ketchum.
Oh, yes.
And she had this DNA evidence from some researchers that were out there on site and got blood from, I don't know, some nails or some old shacks or campsites in Alaska. And they took that back and they gave it to Melba. And she done some research. And according to her research, she claims that Bigfoot is a human hybrid. He's not fully human and he's
Right.
not fully animal. He's somewhere in between.
Right.
And she says by a humanoid, the original Bigfoot, she says 15,000 years ago. Now, I believe she's wrong on them dates myself, on the date part, but as far as it being a hybrid, I think she's 100% on. And I'm thinking, if these sons of God did come down and interact with human beings, could some of their offspring have been something like a Bigfoot?
Very, very possible. I know that she is doing more recent research, taking DNA samples. And so I'm hoping that whenever her updated research comes out, that we'll get more information.
Yeah, more of a definitive, detailed information. That would really be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, we're really hitting it on all cylinders here tonight. There's probably some people out there shaking their heads, say, "Man, is that guy out there in left field without a glove?" But that's what I do. I try to think, Mary, outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
If what we're thinking about, how can these cryptids like Bigfoot and some of the other ones, how can they just disappear when they're completely surrounded by people and they get out and well, he has to be right there behind that tree, and then he's not there, and he was just there seconds ago. Where do these things go? And to answer that through me, I believe like the Indians do. The Indians believe that these creatures are interdimensional, they call them.
Yeah.
I believe 100% like the Indians, and they know they've been interacting with them for thousands of years here in America.
Mm-hmm.
And they even refer to them as the guardians of the earth.
Yeah.
According to the stories, the Bigfoot have helped the Indians even cure some of their folk. And they've helped them out in certain situations and saved their lives. So, you can't say, well, is Bigfoot evil? You can't. I believe this. I believe that there's just like human beings, there's good and there's bad.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I believe some of them were good, some of them were benevolent. But there's some that would just love to crush you and tear you to pieces. So
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah.
so that's what I have so far, Mary. Is there any other questions that have floated up there on your screen?
Let me see. Yeah, I haven't seen any recent questions.
Maybe I've done such a good job of explaining it, huh?
See, Ben from Oz says we are an engineered species, I feel.
Okay, engineered, he say?
Yeah, engineered, yes.
I would say that's more true probably for the dog man because
Yeah.
I believe in some of these facilities like Area 51 and maybe some of the dark pyramid. There's a dark pyramid in Alaska. There's things that are in Antarctica, creatures that they have found in the solid ice
Right.
that really is strange and weird, and maybe we can't really document them very much because obviously not very many of us have been to Antarctica. But if you believe the stories, and I have stories in my book about these things in Antarctica, and they are real, and I got people's names that went there, and the stories are just unbelievable. I mean, it's just these giants are going to be coming out in the last day. They're going to be coming out, and there's this place in the Bible, in the Septuagint, that talks about that, and where it's and the Septuagint is actually the version of the Old Testament that Jesus and the apostles quoted verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, that the Septuagint has to be very like 99.9% on the money. And in the Septuagint, I don't have the exact verse here, but it says in there, giants are coming to fulfill my wrath. and he's talking about the day of the Lord, and he says, and they will be insulting and very arrogant. He said that they're coming. The Nephilim are coming back. And that's why I kind of titled my book, Supernatural Cryptid Return of the Nephilim, because I believe that there's some way, Mary, and I'll be ending up my talk here with you on this one, on this note, and then we can answer another question or two. Is that there is a link between the giants of old and the Bigfoot and some of these cryptids and perhaps the dog man of today. There's a link. They are linked somehow together, and through some parallel universe or some there's some dimension that is just outside of the realm of our vision, human vision. They're real close to it. Some say, or are you trying to say that they're demons? I don't know. I don't think that they are demonic, but I'm also not going to say that they're not related to that part of the supernatural realm. If you get my drift,
Right. Now, what I believe to tie in with that um, is from Revelation 6, verse 7. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature call out, "Come." I looked, and there was a pale green horse. Its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed.
and
Authority
also, go
for
ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
to kill with sword, famine, and pestilence, and by the wild animals of the earth. That last part, the wild animals of the earth.
I
So,
do believe that's. I think it says it in the King James, like the wild beast of the earth or something like
yes,
that.
yes,
And I believe L.A. Marzulli, he touches on that, and he calls that what's that Greek word he uses? I can't think of it. Theraton or something like that. He used the Greek word, and it does mean wild beast. And I would say, and you probably would too, and probably some of the listeners, that probably Bigfoot, Dogman, these other really weird wild creatures, even Mothman or whatever, they could definitely be labeled as a wild beast.
I would think so. There's so many other creatures out there that have been seen, and some have only been glimpsed, and some that we don't even know of. But I have no desire to meet them.
Right. And Luke, and here I want to finish up with this. This is powerful, Mary. Luke 21:11 talks about and fearful sights and things that are coming from the heavens upon the earth. Men's hearts fell in them for fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many people have actually seen a Bigfoot or a dog man or even Mothman or it even got frog man here in Ohio from the Loveland frog. They call him Frog Man. He was seen by police officers. So I think these things, and in the Greek for fearful sights, it it actually said Jesus is actually saying that there will be beastly monsters. So some other great, real good ministers say that what Jesus was actually saying is there will be monsters upon the face of the earth, and these monsters are giants.
Yeah.
Giant size. There's some 12, 14, some 15 feet, and even taller. Then we can bring in the Solomon Islands, and there's these things that walk around in the Solomon Islands almost like people are.
Yep.
They are there. They are there. And if that's the case, and you're seeing them in Afghanistan, we all probably have heard of the Kandahar giant.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh no! They say no. That never happened. That never happened. I don't know who started that story that the Pentagon said, but that never happened.
Yeah.
Let
Right.
me tell you what. If the government says it didn't happen,
It
you
did.
can bet you it did happen.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a question here from Benno from Oz. He asked, who did the cover art for your Nephilim book?
Well,
It's
I'm going to
beautiful.
say it's 50-50. I drew what I wanted to be on there,
Mm-hmm.
and they put really good graphic, and it was my publisher, graphic company, and that's Author Tranquility that I went through to do my book, and so their graphic designers did that cover work, and I wanted something that would capture
Mm-hmm.
the imagination of people, so they would look at that and say, "Oh my gosh," it's just I've heard people say it even looks like a movie cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautifully done. I just wanted to also let everyone know I put links to both books in the description on the YouTube channel. So make sure you go to, it's to the Amazon pages. So make sure you visit them and you buy the books, guys. Yeah, this sounds fascinating and right down my alley.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, it's just you gotta get it. I'm not just saying that to make me rich, because I guarantee you, 100%, I
Yeah.
will not get rich off of this book.
And it'll
This-
tie in with my book.
I actually got a royalty for my first book 2 weeks ago, Mary, and it
Wow.
was so sad. It made me so mad I couldn't see straight. I got a royalty for
Mm-hmm.
84 cents
Oh, oh my.
for one quarter, and they took 16 cents out of me for withholding.
Oh, geez. That's disgusting. Oh my.
I mean, this book is right up, and if my book isn't that good, I only got 80% royalty. How come I've had about 25 to 30 people call and want to make a movie out of it?
Yeah, there you go.
It just doesn't stand to figure. So somebody's lying, and I think this publishing company that produced my first book, Author House. I
Mm-hmm.
think they've kept a lot of royalty, because I saw into the portal. They gave me, like, what they call an account portal, and in that account portal, I had $420 in there waiting for me.
Wow. Yeah,
But that's not what I got.
Benno says, don't let it get to you. You're educating people. And I agree. Yeah, but the royalties help. I can tell you that they help. Yeah.
I'm telling it brings me right back to the Bible, and I like to quote scripture when people screw up or do me wrong or whatever. What it said, "Woe unto them that oppress the hireling in his wages." You try to take money from people that have worked real hard to get it, you're gonna have to deal with God. You don't have to deal with me. You're gonna
Yep,
have to deal with God.
that's right.
I turn the wheel right over to Him. And I
That's
got more to say about that turn the wheel over. That's a whole nother story. But we're probably at the end of the game here.
I appreciate it so much, and I wanted to thank you for coming on and agreeing to join me so quickly because I just asked you what yesterday, and
Yeah.
thank
I
you.
could talk about this subject 24/7. I mean, I know, because I went over so much, obviously writing the book, and sometimes I have forgotten a few things that I wrote. Believe it or not, I have to go back here and kind of brush up every now and then on a few of those things, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Epic of Beowulf. How
Yeah,
they were gods and valiant men fighting beasts and monsters on this side of the flood.
right.
So these beasts and monsters are still around.
Mm-hmm.
No, they may not be walking through the streets of our cities, but they're in the dens and the caves of the earth. Maybe places like Antarctica, or a hidden earth. They say there's supposed to be a hidden earth.
Yep,
They're still around,
I agree. I agree. They are.
and that's what cryptozoology is all about.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. And tell you what, you said you're in the middle of writing another book.
No, 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 no.
Yep.
I'm not. Yeah, I got a few other things to say about that. I got to get the right publisher before I actually go do that, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna start a third book until I get a few other things ironed out.
Okay. Well, I went through KDP, Amazon KDP, and self-published, and it's a little bit more complicated, but even so, you get to keep more of your money.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
for that.
yeah. I have to pay $8 for a Ohio Monster book, and I'm supposed to sell it for $10.
Oh, wow.
So that $2, that's a big royalty.
Yeah. Wow. Phew. Goodness.
Yeah, I kind of got messed up on that one, but
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I just wanted to get my story out,
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I understand. Well,
So
when you get that third book out, let it, give me a heads up and we'll get you back on.
sure, sure, that'd be great. I got another podcast this Friday to go with this guy, and we're talking about the same subject, how the Nephilim tie in with the Bigfoot. So
All right, good.
we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you so much, David, and you have a great evening. Thank
All
you.
right, you too, and thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Hey, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us, and I'm sorry for cutting it, cutting things a little bit short this evening. I know I usually continue on like for another hour or so, but um, hate to say it, but I'm still exhausted, still recovering from the weekend, and but great questions, fantastic comments. Uh, Thank you for engaging, for joining us, and I appreciate you guys, all of you. And if any of you, again, if you want to um, read David's books, again, I have the links to the books on Amazon in the description box. So just click on those; it'll take you to the books. And once you get into Amazon, also, the authors' names are highlighted, and you can actually contact the authors through there if you wanted to contact David, or let me know, if you wanted to contact him, and I'll put you in contact with him. So um, let me think here. Oh, okay. All right, Melvin. Thank you. Absolutely. I appreciate it. And let's see. I think next week, no, I was talking to someone else about coming on, but can't seem to match up. A friend of most of ours, but I think she's a little bit busy right now with some things. Um, so next week, as far as I know, it'll be just me, and we'll go over some different things. We'll come up with a subject, or else it'll be an open subject night. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it'll be an open question. You want to ask me any questions that hopefully I can answer to help you, in your Bigfoot journey. But so far, that's the way it is. All right. Before I ramble on too much here, thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, the shizzle. Sorry you got in here so late, just as we're just as we're closing. Uh, well, you can just rewind the shizzle. Just rewind back to the beginning, and you'll see it was a good show. We had a great guest, David Walker, and he told us about his sightings and experiences, as well as his two books. Oh, you've been moving. Ah, okay. All right. Well, good luck to you. All right. Okay, guys. Everyone, you have a great night. God bless. We'll see you next week. And Monkey Wench out.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost and now am found, was blind but now I see. 'Twas grace that